know, it's poetry's everywhere round here, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, there's a story. Storytelling is a big thing round here, isn't it?
Tell me the story of the last 3 years in Wigan.
Wigan?
What?
That's a working class town, you know.
I think there's a lot of beauty, so there's a lot of beautiful buildings. The biggest thing is the people.
Wigan's modern story runs from deindustrialisation to being one of the areas of England hardest hit by austerity.
We need things around Wigan for us youngsters, you know what I mean? There's nothing around here for us.
It was a universal credit pilot area, then it voted 64% for Brexit.
We're being hammered anyway with this government, aren't we? So
Some people may think we've heard enough from places like this. For us, it feels like exactly the right place to be on the day that Theresa May's deal once again hits the House of Commons. You're just talking about Brexit?
Theresa May? No, I don't like me.
And what do you think about where the country's ended up?
I don't know. What do you think it is?
Verklempt is a great food recycling project. The name means very hungry in local slang.
As you can see, it's full. There's so much food that goes to waste. And we're just like at the tip of the iceberg, really. We are definitely not a poverty project. We're an environmental project, and there's a reason for that. Everybody's got pride.
Why have we suddenly had to come round to thinking about feeding people?
What's the answer?
Well, the answer is don't be in a situation where people need to rely on something. It's where people can work towards their own sort of future, their own resilience. You can't be resilient if you're hungry. You can't. You know, when you look at Maslow's hierarchy and you look at all that and you look at what's at the very bottom of that, food, shelter, warmth. At the top, it's realising your own potential.
Something's gone very wrong, though.
Something's gone very wrong. It's always working class people that try and put it right. That's always us, isn't it? It's always us because we see it.
Can I borrow you for a minute? You see that square pan with the handle on there? We've developed an acute talent for blaming the victims. I hate it when I see programmes on the TV about Benefit Street and all that. People who are to blame are the people at the top who've got more than they need and won't.
And they won't stop that blaming because it serves to blame.
You think people themselves feel the weight of that blame?
I think people do feel shame about the position they find themselves in, but they don't know a way out of it. So then they get defensive. So then they look a bit ballsy, don't they? Then they look a bit like, well, I'm not bothered anyway. But how do we know if they are? Because nobody asks those people, do they? They point to them. They, you know, have a story about them that they don't really know, but they don't actually talk to them.
But what if that story now is, they're the people who are stupid enough to vote for Brexit? Because you hear that, don't you?
You do
the two
hear
things
that.
have sort of been fused together.
Yeah.
They do. However, we weren't given the correct information about Brexit, really.
The number of people who've said to me, yeah, but £350 million a week for the NHS, you're not going to turn that up, are you?
So that was one of the few bits of hope that was thrown at anybody in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, get your country back, get your NHS back on track. Stop giving these people who do know some money. You know, it was all that kind of premise, wasn't it? That story. Again, another story.
It's a good story.
Well, a very convincing one, because we all want to believe it, don't we?
Theresa May has urged MPs to back her EU withdrawal deal in a crucial vote this evening or risk losing Brexit.
I wonder what you think about Brexit and where the country's ended up.
Oh, I don't watch all that crap.
It's easy to find people here who say things like this.
We voted for out. Get out and repair the country. That's my honest.
But be open to what people have to say and you might get to something deeper.
Well, they've done a lot of damage over the last few years. Our government, they always do. They need to pay a bit more attention to what we need.
Keep listening.
There's a lot of crime, and it's down to the fact that people haven't got money. Provide the money for the policing, the NHS. You look around, there's shop-shotting everywhere.
What's your job?
I deliver parcels for Amazon.
And do you make a living doing that?
I don't make a living doing it at all, no. It's a job.
Excuse me asking, how much do you turn in the average week?
My top line would be about 500. And then I've got to pay for my van and my fuel and everything out of that as well.
So you're nominally self-employed?
Yes.
But you're not really?
No. They dictate when we can work and the hours we have to work.
You don't worry about leaving the economy will tank and we'll have even less money than we've got now?
No, because there's enough industry in this country. Let's bring it back, build this country again.
Hour and a half, 2 hours we've been talking to people. That's a cliche now. Feels like people saying we've got to leave the European Union because this country's in a bad way. And I'm a Remain voter, so I'd say, well, if we leave, it'll be in an even worse way, but that's not the way people are thinking. Secondly, there's this idea that the wheels are all falling off with Brexit, and yet my impression very strongly here is that people would vote leave again in just the same numbers that they voted leave last time. Nothing has changed. Yeah, let's talk to these. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt.
I'm finding it quite difficult to get a job, get a home, put down a mortgage, just basically be the 23-year-old that my mum was at 23, purely because of the state of the country and the state of Labour towns like this that we live in.
Like Manchester's like a bit of a social hub where this, like...
You feel that? People judge you for being from here a bit?
Yeah.
Completely, well, it's not an unrelated question, it's a related question. I wonder what you think about Brexit. There's this big vote in Parliament tonight.
Absolutely not leave. I feel like it will be detrimental to our economy and just detrimental to Britain in general. I think it's a really bad decision.
But you know, about 65% of people in Wigan voted for it.
I do, and I'm quite annoyed at that. I do think there's hope. I mean, our generation, we're quite, we know what's wrong and we don't really know how to fix it yet.
It's lunchtime back at Fir Clement.
Thank you. Don't forget the bucket, please.
I'm so glad I am Czech, so I've got freedom to go to Europe.
Are you going to stay?
Yeah. If they kick us out, I move to Spain.
I personally disagree with it, but there is the vote. It's a democracy, and I value the vote of the people.
I am trying to get a sense from people of how they think Wigan is doing.
It's doing very well, but it's a universal credit rollout area. You know that, don't you?
Go on.
I've been on it about 5 months. I'm living for 19 days off no money.
Jesus. How come?
Well, when I went on it in November, I had to take out £600 for that 5-week finger. So I'm paying that back for 540. I've got to pay 425 my rent and about £50 for my electric. You're left with about a tenner to live off for a month.
And what's the nature of your disability, excuse me asking?
I had polio when I was born.
Charlie is now volunteering in the warehouse here.
So I need to keep active.
The last time you worked, what did you do?
I was team leader at Asda 18 years. I was made redundant and I thought, with my CV, I thought I was going to walk straight into a job. But I'm applying for jobs and there's 1,000 people applying for that job. Coming to the end of the month, I get that 540 and it's not like I can go out and have a blowout. I'll take some carrots home, I've got an onion at home, so I'll make a batch of soup up and I'll freeze it. Just keeps laughing because I've still got my team leader brain on me. I've got the sausages then for the hampers. That's what gets me through every month.
Can I ask you a strange question?
Go on.
Did you vote in the referendum 3 years ago?
Yeah, I voted to leave.
Tell me why you voted for leave.
Hopefully we can get some jobs back in.
That was in your head when you voted leave?
Yeah.
Somehow it would mean that there might be more for a town like this. You must have heard this 1,000 times. People say that when we leave, the country will be even poorer.
No. Well, how can I be poorer? Rees-Mogg, he's been paid 1.7 million off his firm.
Brexit's his
They're
project.
not bothered about us.
They're the people leading us out of the European Union, and you voted for their thing.
Yeah,
do you not think you were had?
No, we voted for one thing, and it's Theresa May has turned it round into her thing.
You don't think you were had? That you were lied to?
I do think we were lied to because they have that big. You can't find that red buzz now in London. That's gone missing. That one, the 350 million.
Totally. But if I put a ballot paper in front of you now, with all you know now, with Leave or Remain on it, you'd still vote for Leave?
Yeah. I think the world's broken, not just the system.
There's still industry in Wigan, and some of it is quite iconic. Well, I've just seen this quite by chance. The factory that makes Uncle Joe's meatballs. Oh, hello. We're journalists. We work for The Guardian, the newspaper. And I grew up in the northwest, so I didn't even know Uncle Joe's Mint Balls was here. Has it always been here?
Since 1919.
You've been making Uncle Joe's Mint Balls in this building for 100 years?
Yeah. Well, longer, 1898 we started. Yeah, we would like to be here for another 100 years. Brexit, I think the
You mentioned Brexit? I
no,
didn't mention Brexit.
it was brought up in before, but we don't know how it's going to affect transport links, we don't know how it's going to affect tariffs, staffing, and if we knew what we're dealing with, we can deal with it.
Well, you survived the Great Depression. This firm survived the Great Depression.
Yeah.
2 wars, 1 Great Depression, 1 economic crash.
Yeah.
And you're still here.
We're still here. Yeah.
So
Brexit is nothing. We've coped with that easy.
Well, thank you for these.
It's not a problem. Enjoy.
Uncharted territory, Margaret Beckett. Where do you think we're heading?
Completely uncharted territory. I hope very much that we're headed for a defeat for the Prime Minister. And there are some slight indications that for the first time she might actually take some notice.
That's what we miss.
That's what passes for nightlife now.
It's what we miss.
We've got a bottle of vodka.
So
you got a bottle of vodka and a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah, that's what we've had to resort to because obviously the oil well was shut down, so we've had to resort to this and this. Do you know what I mean?
Like my nan used to work in that pub there, and she used to be one of the managers there at the pub, like in the kitchen, and she used to clean up.
But it shut down. They need to bring it. They need to start it back up.
This has been empty
Wigan
for
Pier
10
was
years.
one of the best clubs ever. They were their best.
This is where everybody met each other and you just had a good time, you just enjoyed yourself instead of going out on the streets getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
What do you think about Brexit?
I really don't follow it.
I don't.
Really don't follow it.
And your future?
My future.
Next 5 or 10 years?
I want to be a midwife. I want to work with children. But I want to move out to Wigan first. I want to emigrate to Australia where my dad's sister lives.
To be honest, I actually have my own business. I'm a landscape gardener and I do property maintenance, but my father killed himself in February. So I've never got back on. I've never, do you know what I mean? My head's not got back to it.
Believe it or not, but we're actually homeless.
So where are you staying at night?
Here, there and everywhere. Because there's nothing left at Wigan.
What, you sofa surfing, as they call it?
Well, we stay on the streets, outside.
Do you?
And if we make enough money, we go to a hotel.
Straight up?
Yeah.
To be honest, we made nearly enough for an hotel today, but we didn't make enough, so we just thought, well, have a good night.
By doing what?
Help people out with stuff and that. Like, help people out, and they just give us a few quid.
What do you mean, odd jobs kind of thing?
Yeah.
Chores and things like
And then you stay in a hotel?
Yeah.
What, 3 of you in a room?
Yeah, I've got an on me.
It's sort of hard to avoid the conclusion, quite frequently, that this country's sort of falling apart in all sorts of ways. And MPs and the media have fallen over themselves to get worked up about something. But it's not that. It's not homelessness or the fact that young people are itinerant because there's no opportunities and that owning a home is a distant prospect. Or that the fellow we met today is working for Amazon for effectively less than the minimum wage. Or that universal credit doesn't work and people can't afford to eat. Right now, as I'm standing here, the Houses of Parliament is tearing itself to pieces about whether we're going to leave the European Union and what Jacob Rees-Mogg wants. I think the word for that is displacement activity. Rather than watch the vote in the Commons unfold, we decide to spend the evening in a rather more uplifting way. I'm at choir practice in Wigan.
Natasha, do you want to do some warm-up?
Hey! MPs started going into the I and No lobbies to do this latest meaningful vote on Theresa May's deal.
Oh!
Can't get any more early But Westminster than this.
Come on, let's get into it.
This is a fledgling local charity called Living with Life that helps families deal with bereavement.
Last bit of breath in, so nice
Well,
breath
ha ha ha. MPs reject May's Brexit deal for the second time by a majority of 149.
One more nice breath in. And blow out.
The choir is filled full of people who come from all different walks of life. We've all got stuff that's going on that's really tough to deal with, and to be able to get your own mental health in order by coming together for a common purpose. early mental health preventative treatment.
Because at the minute, the way we deal with bereavement, even when we know it's going to happen, is we just come in after it's happened.
So if people have lived life really well and they've said everything that they need to say and they've said goodbye to the families well, you've left with less regrets.
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away.
The question I've been asking people all day is, what does Wigan need?
For me, as a single mum, I work 2 part-time jobs at the minute to make living with life happen for people within the Wigan community. They've got the ideas. The only thing that they're lacking at the minute is the funding. For me, I believe that our idea literally could change the world.
Wigan is still waiting for some kind of answer to what it told politicians back in June 2016. But the tragedy of Brexit is that the problems of places like this have been all but forgotten amongst all the Westminster drama. More than ever, they have things to tell us. We ought to listen.
In the past hour, MPs have voted overwhelmingly to reject the Prime Minister's revised Brexit deal for a second time, 17 days before Britain is due to leave the EU.